Josie Duggar's boyfriend scandal exposed. Family furious behind the scenes. The tranquility of the Duggar family compound in Tontatown, Arkansas, has been shattered once again. For years, the sprawling estate has been the backdrop for both the wholesome image of the Duggar family and the quiet, simmering tensions that have occasionally boiled over into the public eye. But this time, the storm is not coming from external forces or legal troubles that have plagued the family in the past. Instead, the eye of the hurricane has shifted to the youngest generation, specifically Josie Brooklyn Duggar, the miracle baby born at just 25 weeks weighing a mere 1 pound and 6 ounces, who now finds herself at the center of a romantic firestorm that has left her parents, Jim, Bob, and Michelle, furious and the entire family reeling. Josie, who has grown up in the shadow of her family's massive reality TV empire, has always been portrayed as the protected, delicate youngest child. But viewers and insiders are beginning to realize that the 26-year-old is charting a path far outside the rigid boundaries set by her parents' stringent institute and basic life principles beliefs. While the older Duggar children adhered strictly to the rulebook of courtship, complete with lengthy questionnaires, chaperone dates, and the now infamous side hug rule, it appears that Josie has thrown the rulebook out the window, and the family is not happy about it. The central figure in this explosive family drama is Josie's mysterious new boyfriend, a man whose presence in her life has ignited a war behind the scenes of the Duggar household. The boyfriend at the center of this storm remains a shadowy figure, but details are slowly emerging from those brave enough to speak off the record. He is reportedly not from the IBLP circle, not a member of the fundamentalist community that has served as the Duggar family's social and spiritual safety net for decades. Sources suggest he is someone Josie met through a non-religious activity, perhaps a hobby or interest she developed away from her family's influence. This alone would be enough to send Jim Bob into a rage, as the patriarch has always insisted that his children marry within the faith to preserve the family's values and legacy. But there is more. Whispers of late-night phone calls, unapproved outings, and even the possibility that Josie has been spending significant time at her boyfriend's residence have sent shockwaves through the family. If these rumors prove true, the breach of the Duggar courtship code would be so complete that reconciliation might seem impossible. To truly understand the seismic shockwaves this scandal is sending through the family, one must look back at the unique pressures placed on Josie from the moment she was born. As the 19th and final child of Jim, Bob, and Michelle, Josie was born into a media circus on December 10, 2009 via an emergency C-section that captured national headlines. Her survival against the odds made her a symbol of the family's unwavering faith and a beloved fixture on the TLC network. Growing up in the spotlight, Josie was always the baby of the family, shielded by her older sisters and the strict disciplinary system that governed their lives. She was the adorable face of the Duggar brand, the little girl who survived against all odds and grew into a beautiful young woman under the watchful eyes of the world. However, as Josie matured, the desire for autonomy that simmers in every young adult began to clash violently with the ironclad rules of her upbringing. Unlike her older siblings, who were thrust into courtships and marriages with partners vetted by their father, Josie seems to have taken matters into her own hands. The secrecy, the defiance, and the sheer modernity of the relationship are reportedly sending Jim Bob Duggar into a frenzy of damage control behind the scenes. Sources say this relationship blossomed away from the prying eyes of the TLC cameras and the family's daily group Bible studies, which is precisely why the family feels so betrayed. The fact that Josie has been seen spending time with this man without a chaperone, one of the most sacred rules of the Duggar household, has left the rest of the siblings and the parents scrambling to adjust to this new reality. The family, once the paragon of televised piety, is now struggling to contain a relationship that feels dangerously out of control. Tension inside the Duggar home has reached a fever pitch that few outside the inner circle could ever fully comprehend. For a family built on the foundation of absolute patriarchal authority and unwavering public piety, the rebellion of the youngest child cuts deeper than any external scandal ever could. While the world has watched the Duggars weather storm after storm, the current crisis feels uniquely personal to Jim, Bob, and Michelle. This is not an attack from the outside world or a legal system they can blame for misunderstanding their faith. This is their miracle baby, the child they prayed over in the neonatal intensive care unit, the little girl whose survival they credited to divine intervention, now standing firmly against everything they have ever taught her. Behind the closed doors of the sprawling Arkansas compound, the atmosphere is described by insiders as suffocating. Jim Bob has reportedly retreated into long, brooding silences interrupted by explosive outbursts of anger. Michelle, ever the peacemaker in public, is said to be heartbroken and confused, unable to reconcile the obedient daughter she raised with the fiercely independent woman Josie has become. Couple has summoned their adult children for emergency meetings, attempting to present a united front while simultaneously trying to figure out how their carefully constructed world has come undone. The irony is not lost on those watching closely. The Duggar parenting model, which emphasized blanket training, blanket permission, and blanket submission, has produced a child who is now rejecting the very blanket she was wrapped in. The older sisters, particularly Jana, Jessa, and Jill, have been tasked with the difficult mission of bringing Josie back into the fold. Jana, the eldest unmarried daughter who has sacrificed her own dreams to raise her younger siblings, is reportedly the most devastated. She helped raise Josie from infancy, changing her diapers, soothing her cries, and teaching her the family's ways. To see the child she nurtured now rejecting everything Jana has dedicated her life to is a bitter pill to swallow. Jessa, who has positioned herself as the most vocal defender of the family's values in recent years, has reportedly engaged in heated arguments with Josie, accusing her of destroying the family's reputation and betraying the legacy of their parents. Jill, who has distanced herself somewhat from the family in recent years, finds herself in an awkward position. She understands Josie's desire for independence better than most, but she also knows the pain of being estranged from the family unit. The Duggar family's reaction to this scandal is layered with the kind of cognitive dissonance that only a deeply insular religious community can produce. On one hand, Jim Bob and Michelle have always preached that their children have free will and must make their own choices. On the other hand, they have constructed a system of rules and consequences designed to ensure that those choices always align with their specific interpretation of Scripture. Current crisis exposes the fault lines in this system. When a child exercises true free will and chooses a path the parents disapprove of, the entire framework collapses. The family's desperate attempts to control the narrative, to spin this as a temporary rebellion that will eventually end in repentance and submission, reveal just how fragile their carefully constructed world really is. What makes this scandal particularly damaging to the Duggar brand is the stark contrast between Josie's story and the carefully curated narratives the family has presented for nearly 2 decades. The Duggars built their empire on the idea that their way of life produced happy, fulfilled children who would go on to create their own large, godly families. Public is beginning to see what those close to the family have always known, that the Duggar children are not robots programmed to follow their parents' commands, but complex human beings with their own desires, doubts, and dreams. The family's attempt to present a flawless image was always destined to fail, and the current scandal is just the latest evidence that the Duggar model of parenting produces as much rebellion as it does obedience. The impact of this scandal extends far beyond the family's immediate circle. Duggar fans and critics alike have been watching the family's decline with a mixture of schadenfreude and genuine concern for the children who have been raised in this environment. Social media platforms have exploded with speculation, with former fans expressing disappointment and longtime critics pointing out the hypocrisy of a family that preached moral superiority while failing to protect its own children from so many forms of harm. The phrase Duggar scandal has become synonymous with broken trust, shattered ideals, and the painful collision between religious certainty and human fallibility. Josie's rebellion, while different in nature from other controversies, strikes at the heart of the Duggar identity in a way that legal scandals cannot. It exposes the family's fundamental inability to control their adult children's choices, a reality that undermines the very foundation of their brand. Behind the scenes, the family's financial and media empire hangs in the balance. Jim Bob's political aspirations, which have simmered beneath the surface for years, are likely dead in the water, as no political party wants to be associated with a family that seems to generate scandal after scandal. The reality television offers have dried up, and the family's various business ventures are suffering from the taint of association. The Duggar name, once a valuable commodity, has become a liability. Friends of the family have reportedly distanced themselves, fearing that any association with the Duggars will damage their own reputations. The isolation that was once a point of pride, a sign of the family's commitment to their values, has become a prison from which they cannot escape. Josie's boyfriend scandal in this context is not just a family drama, it is a threat to the entire Duggar enterprise, and the reaction to it has accordingly been intense and unyielding. There is also the matter of Josie's own future. At 26 years old, she is legally an adult with every right to make her own choices, regardless of her family's objections. But leaving the Duggar fold is not as simple as packing a suitcase and walking out the door. Josie has been raised in a world where the family is everything, where the church is the center of social life, and where departure from the faith community means losing virtually everyone you have ever known. The psychological cost of leaving is immense, and Josie is likely struggling with the weight of that decision even as she pursues her relationship. The support of her boyfriend, whatever his background may be, is crucial to her ability to stand firm against the pressure from her family. Whether the relationship will survive the relentless assault from the Duggar family remains to be seen, but for now, Josie is holding her ground with a determination that surprises everyone who knows her. The family's attempt to control the narrative through carefully worded statements and strategic silence has backfired spectacularly in the age of social media. Every move the Duggars make is analyzed, dissected, and criticized by a public that has grown weary of their attempts at damage control. The old playbook, release a statement, go silent, wait for the scandal to blow over, no longer works in an era where information moves at the speed of light and where the subjects of the scandal are often the ones breaking their own stories through carefully curated social media posts. Josie, in particular, has learned the power of controlling her own narrative, posting cryptic messages and carefully chosen photos that hint at her independence without explicitly confirming or denying the rumors swirling around her. This clever manipulation of the media landscape has infuriated her parents, who are accustomed to controlling every aspect of their children's public image. The broader implications of this scandal extend to the entire quiverful movement that the Duggars represent. Quiverful families, who believe in leaving their family size up to God and raising their children in strict biblical patriarchy, have long held up the Duggars as a shining example of their values in action. Josie's rebellion, following so closely on the heels of other Duggar controversies, has caused many within the movement to question the effectiveness of their parenting model. The Duggars, with all their resources, fame, and parent piety, cannot prevent their children from going astray. What hope is there for ordinary families struggling to raise their children in the faith? Crisis has sparked soul-searching within the movement, with some leaders calling for a more compassionate approach and others doubling down on the need for even stricter rules. The Duggar family's pain has become a cautionary tale for an entire religious subculture. The rumors about the boyfriend's identity have only added to the family's fury. Speculation has run rampant online, with fans and critics alike trying to piece together the puzzle of who this mystery man might be. Some suggest he comes from a completely different religious background, while others claim he has no religious affiliation at all. There are whispers that he encouraged Josie to question the teachings she grew up with, to think critically about the rules that governed her life, and to consider what she truly wants for her future. If these rumors are true, it explains why Jim Bob views this relationship as such a threat. It is not just about Josie dating someone outside the faith, it is about Josie potentially leaving the faith altogether. Patriarch's fear is not just that his daughter is disobeying him, but that she might be lost to the family's beliefs forever. The Duggar siblings have been forced to take sides in this family war. Some have reportedly sided with their parents, urging Josie to end the relationship and come back to the family. Others, particularly those who have experienced their own struggles with the family's strict rules, have quietly supported Josie's right to make her own choices. This division within the sibling group has created an atmosphere of tension and suspicion that permeates every family gathering. The famous Duggar unity, once the hallmark of their public image, has been replaced by whispered conversations and pointed glances. The family that once seemed so perfectly aligned in their values and goals is now fractured, with the youngest child serving as the catalyst for a rift that may never fully heal. The media frenzy surrounding this scandal has only intensified the family's pain. Journalists and tabloid reporters have camped out near the compound, hoping to catch a glimpse of Josie or her mysterious boyfriend. The family's neighbors have been approached for interviews, and anyone with even a tangential connection to the Duggars has been pressured to share what they know. The constant scrutiny has made it nearly impossible for the family to deal with the situation privately, adding another layer of stress to an already unbearable situation. Jim Bob, who has always been skilled at managing the family's media image, is reportedly struggling to keep up with the relentless coverage. Timing of this scandal could not be worse for the Duggar family. They have been trying to rebuild their reputation and move forward from the controversies that have dogged them for years. The family has been working on new projects, trying to recapture the magic that made them household names in the first place. But Josie's rebellion has thrown all of those efforts into disarray. The family's carefully planned media strategy has been abandoned as they scramble to contain the damage from this latest crisis. The future of the Duggar brand, once so bright and promising, now seems uncertain and precarious. Josie's own perspective on the situation remains largely unknown, but those close to her suggest she is frustrated by the way her family has handled things. She reportedly feels that her parents are treating her like a child, refusing to acknowledge that she is a grown woman capable of making her own decisions. She is said to be hurt by the accusations that she has betrayed the family, pointing out that she is simply trying to live her life and find happiness. The relationship, which might have been a casual romance under normal circumstances, has taken on outsized significance because of her family's fierce opposition. The more they push against it, the more determined Josie seems to hold on. The boyfriend himself has remained silent throughout the controversy, refusing to speak to the media or comment on the situation. His silence has been interpreted in different ways. Some see it as a sign of respect for Josie's privacy, while others view it as an indication that he is not serious about the relationship. His refusal to engage with the public has only added to the mystery surrounding him, fueling even more speculation and gossip. The Duggar family's attempts to dig up information about him have reportedly been frustratingly unsuccessful, adding to Jim Bob's anger and sense of powerlessness. The family's friends and supporters have weighed in on the situation, offering advice and prayers from all sides. Some have urged the Duggars to accept Josie's choices and embrace her boyfriend, warning that continued opposition will only drive her further away. Others have encouraged Jim Bob to stand firm, arguing that giving in to Josie's rebellion would set a dangerous precedent for the other children. Conflicting advice has left the family divided and uncertain about the best course of action. Michelle, in particular, is said to be torn between her desire to maintain family unity and her concern for Josie's spiritual well-being. The Duggar family's future remains uncertain as this scandal continues to unfold. Will Josie eventually reconcile with her parents and end the relationship that has caused so much turmoil? Will she deepen her commitment to her boyfriend, perhaps even getting married against her family's wishes? Or will she find a middle path, maintaining her relationship while slowly rebuilding bridges with her family over the years? The answers to these questions will shape the Duggar family's trajectory for years to come, determining whether they can recover from this latest blow or whether the cracks in their carefully constructed world will finally become too wide to bridge.